Exactly. It's a really cool deck. They're all really sweet, though.
Excellent. Thank you so much, Corey. Let's turn our attention to round number 7, everyone. Find out who we're going to watch do battle this time around. We've got Arne Huschenbeth up against Lucas Duchow here in round 7. Both 2 of our 3 undefeated players. Esper Midrange in the hands of both players. Now, Arne Huschenbeth knows how to win a championship. In fact, he did it at the Kaldheim Championship. 7 Grand Prix top 8s to his name, as well as 1 title, testing with Team CFB this time around. Versus Lucas Duchow, started playing in 1997, so old school player here. You might know Lucas from doing extremely well in Magic Online. In fact, qualified via the Mox leaderboard to make it here this weekend, which is very, very impressive.
Yeah, a phenomenal Magic player. Anytime you pair against him on Magic Online, get out of there. Run, run.
Tell me about these decks there then, Corey.
Yeah, so let's take a look. These are, of course, 2 Esper mid-range decks. You know, the good decks played by the good players are going to produce some good results here. So starting with Arne Huschenbeth's list, this is the kind of stock list of Esper mid-range we're seeing with the 4 wedding announcement, the Fairies Mastermind, kind of what we have been seeing earlier. We saw Arne on the feature match as well. Let's take a look at Lucas's list, as I think it's a pretty interesting list. You see Duelist of the Mind here in there, as well as Preacher of the Schism, which not every Esper midrange deck is playing, but that card can just be absolutely devastating in one of these Esper mirror matches, especially since it cannot be cut down.
Okay, interesting.
Yeah.
We're going to find out how these... man. The cow returns, Corey. What's your holy cow moment this time
The
around?
holy swine is back. Absolutely.
That's
the
a
holy
pig.
cow... The holy cow moment this time is being very gracious to us. All it is Duelist of the Mind into Rafine, attack, put a counter on Duelist of the Mind, attack for 3. So not even the toughest holy cow moment. Let's hope we see it.
All right, well, I hope we see it too. It's starting to get really high stakes in this tournament. Do you like that one? Stakes? Stakes?
No.
Oh, boy. At least we got a chuckle from Marshall.
No, I'm not chuckling. This is not me chuckling.
This is not an endorsement. And Corey, bovine.
Close
enough. Everybody calm down. Welcome back to the booth. We've got 2 of our 6-0 players lined up to face against each other. There's actually 3 players at 6-0 currently in the field, but the 2 we have in our feature right now are Arne Huschenbeth, who we saw a little bit earlier today playing against Lucas Duchow. Now, this is an Esper mid-range mirror, most popular deck in the field, and these players have piloted both their limited deck and now many constructed rounds into undefeated. Also, Yoshihiko Wakawa is undefeated as well, so we wanted to give a little shout out there. But we're going to be focusing on this Esper mid-range mirror match to start things off between our players. 6-0's got to feel pretty good, Money.
Got to feel pretty good. And Arne, the first match we saw him play, that was also an Esper mid-range mirror match against David Inglis. So has to feel pretty good having already gotten through the matchup. This is going to be the most common matchup, most likely. Lucas has also overcome the mirror once in round 4 against Martin Dominguez. So both players getting wins in the Esper midrange mirror before. And actually, it looks like Arne is 2-0 in the Esper midrange mirror, beat Jim Davis the previous round. So really, they're getting their reps in.
And, you know, one of the reasons that Arne would be so prepared for a mirror match of such things is because of his testing team. He tests with Team Channel Fireball, one of the most experienced testing teams out there. And they certainly, of course, will have been aware of the potential for mirror matches, how to play them, how to sideboard, all that kind of stuff. On the other side is Lucas. And Lucas tested with Daniel Getchell and a group he put together, so no shortage of experience there as well. He's going to lead things off with Deep Cavern Bat, and it looks like he took a go for the throat.
Yeah, we saw this curve coming out from Arne against David way back in the previous match we watched them, but where Arne had Rafine on turn 3 the previous time, here he does have No More Lies represented, so Lucas can't put together that backbreaking curve, and that gives Arne some play. It allows him to go for this virtual on the end step. Lucas doesn't really want to interact with this should Arne have top deck something, leaving the shields down. So now Arne gets a creature to combat and still has that counterspell up.
Lucas has been around for a long time. He'll pop up from time to time at a Pro Tour, at a GP here and there. He's had a big influence over the years. He's from Wisconsin.
Yeah, I think.
And Yeah.
Hearing that he's testing with Daniel Getchell, no surprise. Both of them Magic Online, quote-unquote grinders. Daniel having a lot of success at the Pro Tour stage, though just shy of top 8ing. Quite a few top 16 appearances recently, so very much maybe a team of the Magic Online grinders being put together.
We see attack here from Lucas after he played the Fairy Mastermind. He's going to attack with both, but it is cut down here for the Deep Cavern Bat. On the prior end step, had cast Virtue of Loyalty while he made the creature. What is it called? Fealty? I can't believe you knew what it was called.
I read it on the screen. There's no way. I think Induced Fealty, I want to say. Ardenvale Fealty.
Ardenvale Fealty.
So close. Yeah, I like that from Arne going, cut down your bat, get my go for the throat back. That allows him to go for a potential end step, go for the throat. The reason not to is the existence of this card. You didn't want to let the shields down and allow Lucas to resolve it for free. So now you get the counterspell out, can still go for the throat on the Fairy Mastermind if you want, though you probably want to save that for something like Rafine. Now, we know the shields are down. Lucas, of course, could respect the existence of a second copy of No More Lies. I believe Arna's list does play 3 copies of the counterspell, but at some point, we're getting in there.
How many counts do you have? 3.
And look at this. Lucas is going to go for the Rafine. He knows that at least for this one turn window, the go for the throat's no good.
Yeah, Lucas knows that Arne has that go for the throat. It's possible that he's hoping to force Arne to use that to kill this Mastermind if he wants to prevent Lucas from getting an attack and then getting extra cards out of this Rafine.
Tough decision here for Arne, because if he uses it on the Mastermind, then what are you going to do about the Rafine?
Yeah, and Lucas has one of the most powerful cards in the matchup in hand here in Gix's Command. That card can be very, very strong if you can resolve it. Of course, it is a 5-mana sorcery, so resolving it in a World of No More Lies isn't the easiest, but its resolution can be incredibly strong.
Arne's going to take his medicine here. He's going to use Go for the Throat to take down the Fairy Mastermind, so Rafine's just sitting there on its own. Is there an answer?
I think he's just going to play Virtue and pass. His hand is not good, and I think his hope has to be, if I get this Virtue down, then I can start growing this Anchorage, I can start growing this Knight token, and hope that I can mount an insurmountable board, because I'm not doing it out of my hand. I have all lands. Yes, one of them cycles, but if you cycle a 3-mana land there, you are in a lot of trouble. Which he is anyways.
Which he is anyways. Arne's going to do the little test attack there.
Yeah.
But Lucas passed the test quite easily. And then, as you predicted, Monty, it was the Virtue of Loyalty hitting the battlefield. So he does have this Knight token that's growing, but in the meantime, he just got hit by Rafine.
Yeah. And Lucas, he's a bit starved for mana right now, is able to cast everything in his hand except for that copy of Gix's Command, but has a copy of No More Lies that he can't really afford to keep up. So you see him saying, your board is going to grow out of hand pretty soon. I'm going to resolve this Preacher. That'll shut down the possibility of you attacking with that Anchorage that you have. And Arne picking up a copy of No More Lies, that is going to be really nice with the existence of Virtue of Loyalty on the battlefield and the fact that Lucas is stuck on lands a bit.
Get a map. Take 2. 15, 15. Yeah.
Okay, Arne's going to chip in for 2.
Play an Anchorage.
This creature land, tap land to follow up.
Another copy of Anchorage is a pretty good one, and both of these untapping means he still has access to No More Lies mana.
Because it was a creature when the trigger.
Exactly.
Okay.
This is the start for Arne. Yes, Lucas has a pretty scary board, but you at least know that you have a counterspell for the first potential spell to come out, and your board is growing.
Unfortunately for Arne, he wasn't able quite to get the life totals other than equaled out, and the Preacher of the Schism is going to be quite happy about that.
And the attack from Arne actually gives Lucas the highest value Preacher of the Schism. We're both at 15. I get the token and the card.
Ouch.
Yeah. It's the tied life total Preacher of the Schism feels really nice. Really, really nice.
Lucas will lose a life there, but
I'm at 14. I'll block. No offense.
and it looks like Arne's just going to trade off.
Yeah, that Preacher has Death Touch. If you don't block, it is just going to continue getting in and providing more card advantage and more value, and you really can't afford that.
Arne falls down to 12 after taking the damage from Rafine. And Lucas passes the turn back with 4 mana available.
3 cards or 3 drops.
Having access to Fairy Mastermind plus another copy of, plus that copy of No More Lies in hand is nice. Picking up the land there, nice as well. So Gix's command online the next turn, though of course we know that Arne still has access to that copy of No More Lies. Lucas maybe not able to play around it depending on how much Arne decides to get aggressive here.
Yeah, I mean, who wins the race from this point?
Currently,
Probably
it's Lucas.
Lucas. Exactly.
Part of the issue is that soldier token has, or vampire token, I believe, has lifelink. So if Rafine can grow that with some counters, that's going to really offset the race here.
Lucas is going to go for a Fairy Mastermind on end step, and that's probably the last thing that could be hit by that No More Lies. Arne's going to use it right quick. He's down to just Rafine's tower in hand.
Yeah, this is an okay spot for Lucas. The big issue is that Anchorage is available as a blocker. So if Lucas goes for the attack and grows the soldier by 2, the Anchorage is still a 3/4. So it can profitably block if Arne feels like he has to. And I would guess the fact that he didn't attack the previous turn means that he is thinking about turning off that line from Lucas.
Mm-hmm. And you can see Lucas's face. He's, none of this really is amazing, but there's always cards from the top of the library, so he's going to attack with both.
2 cards.
And get himself a couple of extra cards worth of looting going here.
I think any instant speed removal here that can deal with that Anchorage is pretty close to GG.
Okay.
No blocks.
It was 2 lands. Oh, it's just going to be no blocks anyway from Arne.
All right.
So he's going to fall down to 8.
I guess Arne just hoping to cycle this Rafine's tower on the end step.
That's what he's doing. Oh, and there's another Preacher of the Schism there from Lucas. Way too much pressure here. Here's Rafine's tower getting cycled.
It's a bat.
Draw step to come. Is there enough to even keep him alive?
Bat is a lifelinker. River is not great.
Man, that hand from Lucas is nice, too. He's got his one of Gix's command, the No More Lies, that might be able to get something, and then the Preacher of the Schism as another threat.
I think you force the 3 mana here on the bat. Yeah.
Nice.
Because if Arne pays this, he can't activate an Anchorage.
And so he's just going to pay it and get a little bit of information.
Yeah.
It's Gix's command, but that's a temporary hold there because that bat is going to have to do some blocking pretty quickly here.
I think you have to sack the map token on the bat, get the Explore going.
Exploring is reveal, right? Yeah.
Island. No counter.
And so no +1/+1 counter. He's going to play
You
it.
get 1.
Yeah, from the Virtue.
And I believe Lucas has 2 copies of the Anchorage over there on his own, so this is going to be a connive for 4 now. And that may just force a block from Arne, depending on what he connives into here.
Resolve draw first, then this targets the Anchorage. Sure.
So it looks like he's targeting the Anchorage.
Yeah. Resolves the draw from the Preacher first, and now 2 cards in hand in addition to the 3 connive. That gives more choice for what you're filtering through, as well as a higher chance of discarding spells. 3 lands going to be the discard, and I believe this is the only 7, if I'm counting it right. So Arne doesn't have to block here now.
Okay, he's going to go to 1 then.
It's interesting because Lucas could have forced the block by discarding that Mastermind. Could have forced Arne to have to chump.
He left the Vampire token back. It's another land off the top here for Huschenbeth. And it's looking like best case scenario are some chump blocks, and even that might not be enough.
I don't think he's dead with 2 anchorages as blockers.
Does he need to have access to both?
I believe so.
It looks like he might be firing
He's
one.
going to have 3 lifelink available to him. So assuming that blocks, he's not going to be accounting for the mastermind in hand. We do see that. But even then, yeah, this is the issue. You can't account for that. That trades off, and that's only 2 lifelink, and I think that is going to be
That should do it.
all she wrote here with the anchorages. Because
Now
Lucas
there's
can go...
no blocker.
Yeah.
No extra. Yeah.
You have 2 anchorages to block here. Lucas fires up the anchorage of his own, attacks with 4 creatures, and even if you block the 2 biggest, that is at least 3 coming across, and
That's right.
no more lifelink.
So Arne just says, okay, you're going to activate it. I see what's going to happen here. Let's go to game number 2 between Lucas Duchow and Arne Huschenbeth. And it's going to be land go to start things off. Both players on 7 cards.
Slowly getting a look at Lucas's hand. It isn't all lands, as it may seem, but this hand keeps getting better with each card that gets added to it. I'm like, Acklazotz, ooh.
I'll remind you, these are our 2 6-0 players. We've got one other. That's Yoshihiko Ikawa.
Yeah,
He's playing against Masahide Moriyama right now.
Ikawa is on the domain ramp deck,
Right.
whereas these 2 players are on the most played deck in the room, Esper Midrange.
We see Denik hit the battlefield for Lucas, and an attempted Wandering Emperor there for Arne is going to be met with no more lies.
Yeah, with the Denik plus no more lies, now Arne does know that the coast is clear if he wants to go something like Wedding Announcement plus my own Denik, or Wedding Announcement, go for the throat your Denik. Not really necessary. Both good options. But now, this is the same issue that the coast is clear for Lucas, and I think Lucas is going to go a little bigger with the Bat God.
Wow. So the Haymakers relatively early here. We're just kind of entering the mid-game. A lot of times with this matchup, there's a lot of posturing. There's a lot of, I don't want to be the first one to do something. But here, both players just windmill slammed 5 mana worth of stuff on both of their turns.
And Lucas has the answer to the Bat God in hand, Blot Out. Arne does not. Arne only has 2 go for the throats. That can bounce it with Otawara, but of course that's temporary. Go for the throat is an answer as well, but that also is temporary. With both players pretty high cards in hand right now, it is going to be a bit of a while before Lucas is able to flip the Bat God back into a creature. But once that happens, it's really hard, and Arne does not have that much pressure right now through a Denik.
Yeah, Acklazotz is a big long-term problem in this matchup. And you can see that Lucas has brought, you know, a few very powerful 5-drops to the table here. That Gix's command we saw in game number 1 is in the main deck as well. Just 1 Acklazotz in the main for Lucas as well.
Yeah, Acklazot's definitely one of the ways to get an advantage in the mirror. You see a lot of these Esper decks actually board a second copy, depending on how many they already have in the main deck. I believe Arne has 2 post-board, whereas Lucas only has the 1 in the main deck and no second copy in the sideboard.
You're correct.
So definitely a little bit of an advantage going Arne's way. But, of course, right now, Lucas is the one with it in play. So you only really need 1 as designed.
You know what they say, Acklazotz in the hand, etc.
Yeah, no, one of the other old adages of Magic the
Yeah,
Gathering.
we're learning a lot today, me and Ronnie.
Yeah. Like, you and I go pretty far back. We're pretty old, so all these wise sayings of the ancient Magic the Gathering days, like, we're here to share them with the viewers.
Temple of the Dead is the land that it becomes, as you can see.
Does enter tapped, so with Arne doing it there. Lucas, even if he was able to get down to 1 or fewer cards in hand, not able to do it this turn.
Arne drew cut down for the turn. You can see he has a backup Denik, as well as a go for the throat and an Otawara. I mean, he can keep Acklazotz from doing things for a while, but at a fairly steep cost of like 1 card per transaction that you don't get back.
Yeah, right now, once this wedding announcement flips, we're going to get into a point that Arne will have to take advantage of, which is every time you answer Aclazotz, you have to present enough damage. And with the wedding announcement flipped into essentially an anthem and multiple creatures out with at least one Restless Anchorage that I see in the land area, I think Arne is actually going to be able to present that pressure. So every time Lucas gets the Bat God, Arne can kill it, remove it, bounce it, whatever, and deal 7-ish, and 3 or so cycles of that should be enough.
Turn again. Trigger here.
And it looks like Arne's just going to pass the turn back and go for the trigger on wedding announcement.
Lucas feeling forced to use this blot out just because he needs to get down cards in hand, so he's able to flip back into Aclazotz. You need one of the players to have one or fewer cards, and Arne is not giving him that opportunity. He has something like 5 cards in hand, and he is in no rush to use them. Unfortunately, the worst thing Lucas can draw is more lands, because you can only get one of those out of your hand at a time, and yes, you can fire off that Go for the Throat, but if Lucas draws another land next turn, that is going to be another turn of Aclazotz not being able to transform back.
Yeah, every land he draws at this point extends that by a full turn. Double Caves of Koilos in hand has got to be getting annoying for him. There's Cut Down on Denik. That was end step.
Yeah, that's really big for Arne.
Comment. 6.
Now we can start jamming for 6. It's going to be 13 for Lucas, and he's going to need to come up with a better plan, because right now the Aclazotz plan is looking a little too slow given the too many lands in hand that he's got.
Yeah, the issue is it's all he has.
Right. There's another Denik there for Arne. It's going to be pumped. There's Cave of Koilos hitting the battlefield.
Did he find a non-land?
That's okay.
We don't know.
Found a
yet.
Lauren.
Lauren of the third path.
Okay, that's good.
That'll blow up the festivities.
Yep.
Put a swift end to this party. Lauren the Buzzkill.
How many cards do you have? 2? 2.
And with Go for the Throat being one of those 2 cards, it is now castable. Arne,
So that was a good rip there from Lucas.
yeah, Arne has access to Otawara channeled on his own wedding announcement. Yeah, I like that a lot. This is reduced by 1 thanks to that Denik being a legendary creature, so he can do it for 3. Return my wedding announcement to hand. It buys a lot of time for Lucas. Yes, you get this back, but whether you're drawing cards or making those more tokens, the pressure is cut down significantly when you don't have that Anthem mode for 3 more turns.
2 cards.
Yeah, it feels like Aclazotz is back on the menu now
Yeah.
as a potential long-term game plan, because you're just not facing that, 2-turn clock or whatever.
Yeah. Arne could change that if he just wants to go for Virtue this turn. If he just
Oh.
wants to say, okay, you got rid of one of my anthems, let's try that again, but a little bigger this time, a little more snowballing.
And maybe by the time Aclazotz is on the battlefield, my creatures are as big as it anyway.
Right.
That's a Rafine. Wow. Heavy hitters coming from Arne Huschenbeth. He wants to even up this match. And there's going to be Go for the Throat on Denik.
Yeah, so Arne says attack, trigger. Lucas says, okay, I'll go for the Throat, you're only attacker. When the Rafine trigger resolves, I believe there's only going to be 0 attacking creatures because the Denik is dead, so it won't actually connive anything. And that will be the end of that. That is a clue being generated from Lucas's Denik,
Right.
seeing the opposing Denik die. And Lucas has 1 card in hand. Even if he draws a land here, he can play 1, and that's good enough for Aclazotz.
So the question is Aclazotz good enough for the win? It may take a little while, but that card definitely has the capability of taking over a game on its own.
Yeah, and notably, Aclazotz can attack the turn you transform it because it isn't exile, return this transform. It's just transform it. There's no summoning sickness. It's been on the board for multiple turns now. So that allows Lucas to immediately attack it.
It never left.
Never left. Been here the whole time.
Just turn into a land for a little while.
Yep.
This one left. 18.
Arne is going to fire off Arnvale Fealty now.
Oh, wow, you remembered it. Well done.
I did.
Props.
It wasn't even on the screen.
One of us has to. One at a time. I do want to say a quick thank you to Arne Huschenbeth for not registering Duelist of the Mind, making our holy cow moment less likely to happen this match.
True.
It's only Lucas that can really make it happen. All right, here we go.
Second main phase. Sure. Or did I just played that, right?
No, no, you didn't.
He did not just play that.
No, I did this last time.
Yeah.
Yeah, second main phase.
Sure.
Yeah, apparently the Aquasauce was just tapped for those reasons that we said, where it was a land that was still a permanent.
Ah, I see.
Yeah.
You have to tap it to transform
Exactly.
it. I see.
It did look like it was attacked.
Yes, it did.
As always, chat ever so graciously corrected us.
Catching that. Okay.
Yeah, they were so nice about it.
I appreciate them.
Totally understanding.
Yeah.
One person actually said no biggie.
Nice.
Yeah.
Thank you, that person. Appreciate you.
That's an all-star.
I appreciate all of chat, but especially that person. All right, now Alcazaz is going to attack, which it definitely didn't do last turn, as we've been told.
And you can see Arne is going to discard a land to it. But this is the culmination of an issue that Arne's been facing for ever since Alcazaz first hit the battlefield. Even though he had the answer for it, over the course of time, it has whittled its way back onto the battlefield and is now starting to genuinely affect the outcome of this game again.
Yeah.
Even with the blocker.
The Rafine was able to block there, but Lucas still gained some life, still got some card advantage out of it. So it is attacking resources. The question is, can Lucas find a way to overcome this virtue? Because
that will eventually overpower, right?
It does feel like inevitability for as long as it stays on the battlefield.
Yeah, and we've seen this combo before as well. Wedding announcement coming down with other festivities or a virtue. Just go wide, go tall.
Yep.
I just want to move to my end step.
Second main phase.
Yeah.
All right, Lucas is about to draw a lot of cards. Second main phase, Arne tries to go to his end step. Lucas says, I'll flash in a second Fairy Mastermind. Goes to activate Lauren. Arne says, hold on. There's a copy of Go for the Throat in hand, so can fire that off at one of the Masterminds if you would like. That would prevent Lucas from drawing 3 cards here off of that one activation to his 1. Yeah, Lauren plus Fairy Mastermind, really cool combo. You give your opponent 1 card and you take a lot for yourself.
I'm kind of liking the arbitrage angle here. Ooh, Wandering Emperor.
And a cut down.
And you see a cut down as well.
Go to your own step triggers.
Yeah, this.
Cut down.
Cut down something
So I guess
before
I
it gets
can
out
do
of
one.
range.
Yeah.
Sounds good. So the one with 2, and one with the other. Oh, yeah, 2.
Does this count the tokens?
No,
Or it's only
a
real
creature
cards,
card.
right?
Yeah, it's creature card. So this is also on 1. Okay.
Just checking if Danik Pious Apparition, the backside,
Yeah, we're good.
counts the token dying for creating the clue. And no, it does not. It is non-token.
This is awesome now. We
Go for
have
the Throat
two
was a
very
nice draw.
different takes, right? We have Lucas Duchow potentially drawing 3 cards extra, and with Aklazats, but
Yep.
Arne has really assembled a very impressive board state that Lucas is currently trying to chip away at 1 for 1. The thing is, he's got enough mana and enough extra cards that he may be able to do it.
He may. He got rid of Rafine there, so now is able to get through, but this is the issue, is Arne has that Go for the Throat. So that is essentially 2 more turns of Aklazaz not being available. This turn, the Temple is tapped.
Yeah,
Next
that's
turn, you have to tap
tough.
it to make it a creature. If you have enough, or few cards, as is the case here. And this pressure is mounting.
haven't played land yet.
We're beginning of combat.
I know, but I'm just asking.
I don't think I can't tell.
Lucas asks, I haven't played a lad yet. Arne says, we're at the beginning of combat. Let's just make sure we're the right
just
spot.
for reference, have I played a land?
Yeah.
No attack.
And that is the relevant reason to check, is if you haven't, you can make this anchorage a creature, so you attack for more damage, get a map token, and still have the ability to post-combat go land, Wandering Emperor.
So are they racing now?
Kind of.
Like, that was a big attack from Lucas.
That was a big attack. Arne is going to make a bigger attack back, and Arne's board essentially has Vigilance, and the most important creature on Arne's board right now, that Knight, actually has Vigilance, because that is...
It must be 3.
I don't think it has 5.
No, 2.
It does not have 5, okay.
No, it has 3. It has 3.
Yes.
Right. I played this and then this. This was in play, and then later on, no, wait, this is
They should all have the same, right?
Just making sure
I believe it should have
what the right number of counters on that Knight
all
is.
the ones except the newest one should have the same.
I don't see how it could be 5 just
If
from
you
the
put a
virtue.
counter-
It's
It
definitely
hasn't
not
been there that
5.
many
Yeah,
The
trades.
yeah,
question
you're
is
right.
And
3
you
or
never
2.
attack with the Fiend, right?
Okay, sorry about that.
So we fixed that. That does help a lot, because that creature was significantly bigger than everything else, and with Vigilance, couldn't get exiled to the Wandering Emperor, which we know Lucas has in hand. Arne probably can safely put Lucas on that as well.
Sure.
Comment.
Yeah.
Here we go.
Everybody.
Take a damage.
It's 16.
Is this okay?
Yeah.
Minus 2 on one of it.
-2 gets rid of one of the tokens. Now can go probably consider chumping the Knight with the bat if you want. Depends. How much damage is this in the air?
Yeah,
There are
that's what
2
I'm wondering.
masterminds. I believe just the 1 anchorage, the bat token, and 1 from Wandering Emperor. Oh, and the Denic.
Take 7.
Yeah, I think this is just...
Yeah.
Is it enough?
If Lucas has a way to remove
So you have 11.
Arne's Denic,
Yep.
he is potentially threatening lethal. Now, whether or not lethal actually happens, we know there's a long goodbye in Arne's hand.
Right.
So it's not a given by any means. And that Deserted Beach is another potential blocker there. Sorry, the Anchorage, not Deserted Beach, is another blocker there. So Arne has some potential outs here. But so does
No,
Lucas.
you draw.
Oh yeah, right. Sorry. Yeah. Okay.
Yes.
Right. He did
He's like,
attack.
you draw, which means I draw.
Okay. Now the untap.
Yep.
2, 3. Shield 1.
I can see how that Knight got to 5.
Sorry, Jesus Christ.
Are we all set now?
I think so. Yeah, go ahead.
Arne is interesting. It seems like he's having a little bit of a hard time with this.
There's a
board state.
lot going on. And Marshall, it is round 7.
That is true.
In a very long day, where, as I said, Arne's played 2 Esper midrange mirrors already.
Yeah, that's true.
Eli Cassis described this matchup as playing chess. Now imagine if you've just been playing very intense matches of chess against some of the best Magic players in the world for multiple rounds on end. And it's round 7, and the stakes are high.
And
mean-
by the way, he's from Germany.
Yeah, we're tired
We're in
the
Seattle.
booth.
We're on the West
we're
Coast.
struggling in the booth.
Yeah.
Imagine how these guys are doing in
No,
the feature match
absolutely.
area
Absolutely.
for much higher stakes than our commentary.
Okay, Wandering Emperor is going to put a counter on one of the masterminds. And you see math happening.
Yeah, Lucas is doing the math, saying if I attack with everything, what happens?
Yeah, more importantly, if I attack with everything and this doesn't work, what happens, right? And it's not going to. You see the long goodbye there in hand for Arne.
So as is, this is lethal. Arne can block one.
He says, these are my blocks.
Yep.
Lucas says, I will pass priority.
Long goodbye.
And Arne says, I'm going to send Danik away for good.
No, I don't
Send
think
Danik.
it's 6-7.
Down to 2, I think Arne's going.
2. No,
Yeah.
2.
And
The question is, what can he do going back the other direction, or what can Lucas do to stop it?
Wait a minute. Beginning. I'll draw a card. So
still in combat. Arne draws a card. Lucas has a cut down and a Fairy Mastermind. So
Okay.
I don't think he is, as of now, taking lethal. If you block the Danik and you
get
cut
3
down
cards. 4.
one of the anchorages, you are taking 9. If Arne goes for both anchorages,
Then you're taking 10.
I believe you're taking 11, but that requires Arne to go for both anchorages here. Assuming
So
my
you
math
cut
is
down
right.
an anchorage,
You cut down an anchorage, you block.
a knight.
Oh, you block the knight. It's one bigger than the Danik.
Yeah.
Ah, you're taking 10. See, there you go. There you go.
It's so close. And this is one of those moments, right, where like if Arne does go fire up both of these things, it just has to work or else he's dead.
Yeah, he's dead. If this doesn't work, and, you know, it's a fair assumption to go for it because you're putting Lucas on having 2 things. One thing
Yes.
is not enough.
Yes.
Lucas, as is presenting nothing. So you're putting Lucas on 2 things. The question is, will Arne say, Lucas assumed that attack would end the game, so I have to go for it?
Good combat.
Okay, he's done it. And there's cut down to kill an anchorage.
Good mana.
He's going to tap it for mana, however.
Attack.
That mana
I
is
still
gone.
have it.
Yeah, he's like, attack.
I wonder if he was trying to find a way to leave up Iganjo,
Yeah.
right, with the untap from
Did 11 correct.
Virtue to give him that 3 mana plus the anchorages. So 1 mana plus the 2 anchorages, which he does not have anymore.
I mean, he just has to force Lucas to have it, which he does. Yeah.
She's going to do. Arne Huschenbeth's going to go for it. At just 2 life, he's trying to finish this game off, but Lucas Duchow has the Fairy Mastermind as a surprise blocker, and that should make it a non-lethal attack
And damage.
here. You go to 1?
Lucas put Arne to 1, to 2. Arne put Lucas to 1.
It's 1 to 2 right now.
And I see,
But what can Arne do?
yeah, 3 flying attackers.
I draw. You draw.
He draws a
I draw, you
card.
draw.
Is there a cut down or something?
There's 1 flying blocker and 2 untapped mana. And
He has the Danik to block on.
he has the Danik. The anchorage is not a creature. That
Right,
needs to
it-
be
that should not
moved
be
back to
up
the
there.
land space. Yeah, there you go.
It does keep his counter, though.
It does keep its counter.
But again, if he had the other one, he could have Iganjo activation. Oh,
Yep.
does he still have it? He has Danik, right?
He has Danik, but
So he does. Well, this is just about
This
as
is
close
tight.
as they get.
this is tight because you block 1 and you kill 1, but there's 3 lethal attackers. I think.
By the way, we are in wedding festivities mode now as well, so these
Yeah.
creatures are just massive.
Yeah, it's Rafine up, put a counter on something, send them all in, hope it works. If it doesn't, you're going to game 3.
Yeah. We'll
What-
get him
what
next
a
game.
game.
If not. This has been awesome. Yeah, start throwing some counters around. Why not?
You have a map counter if you want to use it. Maybe you just want to leave up mana.
And Arne is trying to sit up straight and be like, don't do it. I'm strong. I'm powerful.
Target deck, Anchorage.
No, it's the same map.
This-
Target that.
okay. And then block 1. And then what happened?
And then you die?
I'm counting death.
And that's going to do it. Lucas Duchow picks up the victory and remains undefeated here on day number 1. And that was a hard-fought victory, no doubt about it, Monty. That was a tough one. I can see what you're talking about with the whole chess thing now.
My head hurts watching that game.
Yeah.
There was so much happening, so much to keep track of. You could see Arne losing track of it a bit there in the middle. Just so many mechanical decisions, counter, tokens, stacking, cards in hand, phases were in. People are doing stuff, end of combat, second main phase, upkeep. There's so much intricate moving pieces in the Esper midrange mirror, and both players really played that fantastically.
Yeah, really great stuff. We've got more standard to bring you. Let's hear from Maria at the news desk about our next matchup.
You're going to want to stick around for this match coming up. Reid Duke versus Jean-Emmanuel Depraz.
Reid Duke is playing his beloved Golgari creatures backed up by duress and removal spells to be able to take down Jean-Emmanuel Depraz. Jean-Emmanuel Depraz is playing Esper midrange, trying to get an early Rafine up with a couple of creatures and back that up with counterspells.
Coming up next, it's the Hall of Famer versus the world champ. You don't want to miss it.
And welcome back to coverage here at Pro Tour Thunder Junction. Marshall Cycliffe with Mani Devuti. We are down the stretch here on day number 1. We're playing some standard right now, and we've got a really nice match for you coming in here to kind of wind up our round here in the booth. This is Reid Duke versus Jean-Emmanuel Depraz, two of the best players in the world. They've had enormous success over their careers, and particularly, you know, in the last year or so, we've seen these players at the top of the tables, in fact, winning events. You can see Reid Duke there on the left versus Jean-Emmanuel on the right, and we've got the Esper mid-range deck in the hands of Jean-Emmanuel, but Reid has taken a much different tact. He is playing Golgari mid-range.
Different to the rest of the field, not different comparatively to his career.
Let's just say it's in his comfort zone.
Yeah, he feels right at home.
Actually,
I think.
let's just say it is his comfort zone.
Let's just say it is his zone.
Yes.
Let's actually say that he's playing Reid Duke midrange.
He's got, I mean, it is interesting when you look, you know, we've got a very large card pool for standard right now, but there are some cards that you'll see pop up that you just think, how has that not just become more of a thing? The Mosswood Dread Knight for example, is just like, that thing just needs to have a space. And by the way, here's a new card, Caustic Bronco for Reid Duke, which is a great source of card advantage, and sometimes even more than that.
Yeah, we've seen the little snake horse that could be used as a combo piece in some decks, trying to really take advantage of that ability to make your opponent lose the life instead. But in this mid-range deck, it is doing its best Dark Confidant impression most of the time. The fact that cards like that Mosswood Dread Knight or Glissa crew it or saddle it pretty handily and easily is a nice bonus in this deck, is being able to attack with a card advantage engine that is draining your opponent. Really good.
Looks like Jean-Emmanuel's taking some notes here.
I think Jean-Emmanuel might be
Is he
writing out
together his next commander deck in front of our eyes? What
I
is he?
think he's writing out what he can remember of Reid's Duke's deck from memory while Reid decides what he's playing that turn.
Okay, well, that was a Glissa, but it's going to get taken out by No More Lies. And in the meantime, we're going to see probably, yeah, there we go. The Caustic Bronco is going to get in. I didn't see what he revealed there.
It was a swamp.
A swamp, okay, so ideal.
Yeah. Depending on what you're needing. If you really need spells, maybe it wasn't. But, you know, not losing life, always nice.
That's really good. The same person that told us no biggie said back in the snaddle again. It's the snake. It's just, this set has created a lot of memes, let's just say.
Can we VIP that person? I don't want to ever miss a comment from them.
That is really great. Okay, another copy of No More Lies, though, is going to hit the Preacher of the Schism now from Duke. So a fairly straightforward trading of resources, but now Jean-Emmanuel is going to take the lead with Sheoldred the Apocalypse.
Yeah, Jean-Emmanuel's build of Esper is a little different from what we saw in the hands of the previous two players. He doesn't think Wedding Announcement is particularly good in this metagame. He thinks its impact isn't really there. So he's got Sheoldred, he's got some other cards instead. No Wedding Announcements in his build. Reid, Marshall, how many events do you think Reid has played this Liliana the Veil?
Tattered corners, you know. They've those things have sacrificed so many creatures over the years, and Sheoldred's just another one that gets hit there. Oh, awkward for Jean-Emmanuel. He's going to play a Virtue of Loyalty into an empty board and tap himself out to do it.
And 2 cards left in hand, so this Liliana can start going up now. I would be really curious to hear what Reid would guess is the number of counters total that he has put on this Liliana the Veil in his life. Like, you know, the 3 that it comes in with, plus, etc. How many total has that Liliana had in Reid's lifetime? It's got to be.
This is like guess the jelly beans in the jar.
It's got to be in the hundreds, right?
It's easily in the hundreds.
3rd copy of No More Lies hitting the bin.
Okay, it's going to be another Preacher. Preacher doing is kind of the classic type of card that Reid likes. It's good in all scenarios, but it's not, you know, devastating in any. It doesn't just win you the game when it hits, but it generates advantage. It's good on defense. It's good on offense. Good at protecting your planeswalkers.
It was a really good role player in the Team CFB Ultimate Guard Rakdos Vampires deck that Seth used to win the previous Pro Tour. And it is the exact type of card that really does a lot of work in mid-range decks.
And Jean-Emmanuel is going to fire up the Anchorage, but it's going to get cut down here.
He really needed this Anchorage to live. This was a desperation Anchorage, I think, and that's because it is one of the few creatures he has available to him that dodges Liliana the Veil. So the fact that Reid is able to remove it at instant speed, and Jean-Emmanuel is having his resources stripped while Reid can continue building up with this Preacher, this game's going to be really hard to win now.
And it's not getting any easier. There's Gix's command now from Reid Duke as well.
Value Town.
Wow, these are hammers. He is just slamming. He even gets a lifelink, 1/1 lifelink token off of the Preacher.
2 counters, get back my Bronco, get back a Preacher, make a Vampire, hit you for 4, go. I think Jean-Emmanuel's hand is a Rafine and 1.
Yeah, Reid has a go for the throat in hand. So if there is just a simple threat from Jean-Emmanuel, he'll have the answer for that. I got to say, Reid is just in dreamland here.
Yeah.
This is when he puts his lists together, this is what he envisions happening, right? Every single time. Like, Liliana, take out your only thread, start hitting your hand. You're down to nothing.
You know, there's a small contingent of the CFB team that is playing this Golgari mid-range deck.
Okay.
A lot of them ended up on Esper, like Arne and Jim Davis, but Reid and a few of the others were like, they have faith in this deck. I believe that is a virtue there. That was the unknown card that I couldn't make out.
Okay, and so he adventured it.
Yeah, adventured it. Arne Fealty. Yep.
Everybody knows.
Yeah, just checking that that did cost JD a life, as he does not have any non-pain land white mana available to him.
Second main phase, Liliana the Veil is going to tick down.
Yep.
And now we're going to see both threats hit the battlefield, the Preacher and the Caustic Bronco.
Oh, let's
One
get that
at
back.
a time, Chief. There we go.
Go for the Throat Rafine, the 2 cards, I think. Neither of those are really getting the job done here. I'm guessing I'll go for the Throat. Yeah.
And that's going to be it. Reid Duke, in impressive fashion, takes game number 1. I'm curious to see if Jean-Emmanuel can kind of fight back here. Both of these players are sitting at 4-1-1, so they're safely into day 2. But a lot of work to do to keep that record high. You know, and again, you know, when we're talking about players like this, true veterans of the Pro Tour scene with titles, you know, World Championship, Pro Tour champion, that type of stuff, they're always thinking top 8.
Yeah.
It's not scraping into day 2 that's on the menu for these gentlemen.
Yeah, both of these players top 8 at the World Championship. Jean-Emmanuel did a little better than Reid. Went ahead and won the whole thing. But the fact is they are qualified for all the Pro Tours this year. Right now, they've got their eyes set on more titles, more top 8s, more prizes, more cementing themselves as not just the greatest currently, but the greatest of all time.
Right. Trying to creep their way up that ladder.
Yep.
You saw the Fairy Mastermind on end step. It's going to chip in as well. A little bit of a pause there from Duke, perhaps posturing, perhaps actually thinking, should I kill that? Oh, a little taste of your own medicine here. And it was actually a cut down in hand. That, unfortunately,
Liliana?
for Reid, cannot hit Preacher. Liliana the Veil. This is the dream if Reid's got it.
Okay.
Okay, well, that is a Glissa. And that's pretty good, too.
Yeah, can't
First strike
really
and death
attack into
touch
that one.
basically means you must kill it or chump block it. But in combat, no, not so much.
And it's a pretty cool one because this card does a lot of things. Drawing a card, great. Destroy target enchantment against normal Esper builds. Wedding Announcement, gone.
Bye-bye.
You have Virtue in play, gone. So it does make life pretty hard for the Esper midrange deck if they can't clear it off.
So Glissa does get in. And Reid went for the first ability, which is draw a card and lose a life.
Jean-Emmanuel says, I would like one too. Flashes in a second copy of Fairy Mastermind. One for you, one for me, as it goes. I think Reid has a Preacher, if I saw it correctly.
Let's pillage the bog. I was really curious to see if this card would see play. I mean, he gets to look at 8 cards here and pick one out of it.
Yeah, I think it's a key part of the Jund Analyst deck that some of the players in the event are playing.
It's a one-up for Reid.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It's not a key part here. It is just this card can sometimes really get the job done, and it makes sense as a one-of in this build.
Yeah, a lot of times, you know, players, when you look at a one-of, you think, well, what happened there? Like, if it's good enough, why not more? But once you have an opening hand that has 2 of those in it, you go, one's okay. Like, I only ever want to draw 1, and if I ever draw 2, it's a disaster. So that's sometimes where you'll see that. It is powerful, though. Even in this situation, it dug Reid 8 cards deep to find whatever he needed.
Yeah, you really want it as a bullet for these grindy games where suddenly you get to hold it off, you have 8 lands in play, and you get to look through 16 cards and basically Demonic Tutor.
Right. By the way, that's Oklazot's on the other side of the table. Oh, but there's Gix's command now from Reid Duke. One good 5-drop deserves another.
That's Oklazot's in the graveyard.
Is it?
Well, no, not really. It's in the land zone.
It became
but,
a
you know,
land. That's a lot like being in a graveyard.
more or less. Yeah, Reid going for the modes of making Jean-Emmanuel sacrifice the creatures with the higher power, as well as destroying all creatures with 2 or less power. So that essentially wiped JAD's board. The Akhlazaz goes into the land zone, and Reid gets in with Glissa.
Yeah, and Glissa gets in, but boy, Jean-Emmanuel, no chill. Just immediately fires off 6 mana worth of creatures, a Rafine and a Preacher of the Schism to rebuild. Again, not doing much against Glissa. Glissa gets to just keep on turning sideways, and there's not a whole lot that Jean-Emmanuel can do unless you can find a removal spell for it.
Yep.
And it's another card. That's a 3rd card drawn off of Glissa this game.
Yep. And Reid has Cavern of Souls Phyrexian, so that could go for, I believe, the Shieldred hand that I saw. But
And look at this 1-2 punch back from Reid. Jeez, he has the cut down plus pay for the ward to kill Rafine, and then the follow-up Liliana of the Veil to kill the Preacher. I mean, Jean-Emmanuel just had a double spell turn, and by the time it was his untap step, everything was gone.
Reid's making this Golgari mid-range deck look really good.
He really is, especially if this is the matchup that he's going to be facing all weekend.
Yeah, notably, he did get a draw in the previous round. I believe that was against Esper midrange. So it's not always going to be this smooth.
Okay.
Both players, I believe, actually got a draw in the previous round. They find themselves in the 4-1-1 bracket. But the deck looks solid. It looks like it really has some punch.
Reid rarely gets draws. He doesn't play like particularly quickly, but he's really aware. It's not that common to see Reid get a draw like that. I was a little surprised.
I mean, you saw the match previously between Arne and Lucas Duchow, right?
Yeah.
These Esper midrange matchups and these midrange matchups,
Yeah.
the more you exchange resources, the more the game can go on
Right.
and on and on.
Yeah. And imagine 3 games like the 2 that we saw prior.
Right.
Like, that's a draw easy.
If that match had gone to a 3rd game,
Yeah.
it very well
Difficult
could have
to-
been a draw.
Man, this Glissa Sunslayer is just running rampant on this board.
Yeah, just annihilating JD. Jean-Emmanuel had to go for a Rafine and pass.
Oh, I finally found the answer for it.
Yeah, but down to 1 card in hand, so
And
this Liliana can take care of it. Of course, 1 card is also the magic number for Akhlazaz to transform back. Tapped, of course, Marshall, as
Right.
we have been taught.
Yeah. Tapped and attacking or just
No,
tapped?
just tapped.
Okay.
At sorcery speed.
Noted.
Yeah.
Noted for future reference.
Yeah. This is the future reference.
You're right, actually, that is true. Oh, but there's another heavy hitter for Duke. Now he's got Shieldred on the battlefield.
He's like, please, attack with Arafine.
Yeah, Yeah, exactly.
Please.
The fun never stops here for Reid Duke.
Second
Can
cabin on
Jean-Emmanuel
Backfire.
find his way back into this match? It's felt like he's been a full step behind the whole time. He is going to attack. Oh, but look at that. He's got the go for the throat to take down the Shieldred. This has just been back and forth between these two.
And I believe he can still flip the Temple into Akhlazaz this turn, so
He can.
that's going to be Shieldred down if Reid has nothing.
Does Reid have a go for the throat of his own?
Shoot the Sheriff. Is that? No? No, it is Shoot the Sheriff. Okay.
I guess Rafine's not an outlaw.
All right. And no card drawn for JD. But if he goes for Akhlazaz here, he can force Reid to just sacrifice Liliana to get rid of it for another turn if he needs to. Let's just flip it back temporarily. A little bit of hope. Maybe
Right.
maybe it won't die.
It's
Maybe
interesting because
he'll
Reid,
stick around.
right? We know that Reid has the opportunity to do that no matter what with Liliana, but I wonder if he has another answer.
Yeah, of course, we don't have
You
a good
know?
look at what is in Reid's hand right now. So we're flying in blind, but there is a big question here of what Reid can really do in this spot.
How about another Gixis command?
Oh, that is big.
What did he get back a Shieldred and a Glissa? Are you
Yeah.
kidding me?
Can't play either of them this turn, and doesn't up Liliana, so maybe is going to be in the same spot the next turn where if JD just goes, all right, transform Akhlazaz again, then Reid will have to sacrifice his Liliana, but he will be doing that with Glissa and Shieldred in play, which is a much nicer spot to be.
Wow, these haymakers. This has been an awesome game. And finally, Liliana of the Veil is out of here.
Map token.
Right.
Explore.
Let's get some action going.
Destroy evil.
Okay.
That is an answer. We'll keep that.
Keep that one.
Yeah. Shieldred can be destroyed now.
You can see Reid has Shieldred and Glissa face up because those are known cards. They are, however, not on the battlefield just yet.
Mosswood Dread Knight.
Finally see a Mosswood Dread Knight come in. So that's Dread Whispers.
And Rita's like, okay, you have a Destroy Evil? I'm going to hold off on playing my Shieldred. I don't need that one yet.
Yeah, that was revealed, wasn't it? So
Sure was.
Reid gets to perhaps wait for some hand disruption. That is another thing that you do get in spades here for Reid Duke. He's got access to 3 Duress in his main deck.
Potentially a 4th out of the sideboard if
and a 4th. That's
he does
correct.
want it.
Yep. And I don't know how many of those he keeps post board, but if he's got access to those, he could just wait.
Yep.
And we're going to see the Anchorage get fired up and jump in front of the Dread Knight. And this is going to be first strike damage.
Yep.
Jean-Emmanuel down to 6. Okay, so what is that really colorful looking card there?
I can tell you what Reid did. Reid said, with first strike damage, I'm going to remove the counter from your Anchorage so it dies to my Dread Knight.
Right, so it removes 3 counters from a permanent?
Yes.
Uh-huh.
Up to 3 counters
Up
from
to
target
3.
permanent. Typically great against Planeswalkers, but also works there. It looks like that was a Tishana's Tidebinder
Of course.
that Jean-Emmanuel went for, but Reid had to go for the throne, and the Dread Knight with Trample gets the job done.
That's right. That trample carried over, and the low life total there from Jean-Emmanuel Depraz, just not enough. That was a fun mid-range slugfest for the ages right there. And it was kind of cool to see the non-Esper deck as well, because that is really the most popular one. Wouldn't have been super surprised to see Reid play that deck here, but he likes these Golgari cards.
Yeah, I think there's a very solid base to this Golgari deck. You see a lot of very powerful cards that it does feel like they can uniquely utilize, like the Mosswood Dread Knight and the Glissa. And in the hands of a very seasoned mid-range master like Reid, the deck looked incredibly potent.
It did go really, really well. All right, well, that's going to do it for Monty and I for the day. We're going to take a short break, but when we come back, we'll be at the news desk with Maria. We'll see you then.